Hey, my name is Bill Marion, and this is A Nose for Life. Dividing northeast Tennessee and North Carolina, the Unaka Mountains stand tall and majestic. The name Unaka is from the Cherokee, Unega, meaning white, a name given because of the white blooms of the rhododendron in the late spring and early summer. In fact, this is home to the largest rhododendron garden in the world. The rhododendrons weren't blooming while we were visiting, but it's on the calendar for next year because the garden is extremely impressive. There are a few geological and historical sources that identify all of the crest of the southern Appalachian Mountains, specifically the mountains between North Carolina and Tennessee, as the Unaka Mountains. For our purposes, when referring to the Unaka Mountains, we are referring to the mountains only in this region. Like the Unicoi Mountains to the south, these mountains are a sub-range of the Greater Appalachian Mountains, and they're also a part of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The Unakas include the amazing Roan Highlands, boasting several summits above 6,000 feet. In this video, we're providing just a sample of what this mountain region has to offer. It's absolutely amazing, and trust me, we're just scratching the surface. Okay, first, here are some things to consider while watching this video. This was another one of our spontaneous trips, and even though I made a video 6 months ago about traveling in 2021, telling everyone this isn't a year for spontaneous trips, Carolyn and I have found ourselves making quite a few spontaneous trips, and we've paid the price. We were heading back from Chattanooga after meeting our first grandchild, and yes, he's perfect in every possible way. But on the way back to Virginia, we wanted to make a brief detour to Roan Mountain. We got this idea while returning from Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina a few months ago. It was on that trip that we kept seeing these signs about Roan Mountain. You know, I'm from Tennessee, and I've been all over these mountains, or so I thought. I've never been to Roan Mountain. I haven't heard much, if anything, about it. So we didn't plan to hike, and we didn't plan to spend the night. I mean, this was just a simple recon trip. And wow, we were shocked by this amazing scenic location. This place is wonderful. Our visit begins at Roan Mountain State Park in Tennessee. Roan Mountain is 6,285 feet in elevation, and it includes 5 summits, which are divided by Carver's Gap. More on that later. At the bottom of Roan Mountain in Carter County, Tennessee, just off Tennessee Highway 143, is Roan Mountain State Park. 2,000 acres of an amazing hardwood forest, and there's plenty to do if you love the outdoors. And this is the amazing Doe River. It's loaded with trout. I guess I'm getting old because I've never noticed things like this until a few years ago, but the wildflowers in the region are amazing. You can rent cabins here too if you're planning an amazing outdoor adventure in the area, and they look pretty nice. There's camping, swimming, and countless activities. This is a full-service state park. I've left a link in the description. It begins at the park's interpretive center. Okay, it's time. I can't make another video without talking about this. Before I explain the interpretive center concept, let me say that this interpretive center is one of my favorites. It's super clean, and the staff is extremely friendly, and being friendly means everything to Carolyn and myself. Okay, that being said, moving on. Over the past 5 years, Carolyn and I have visited close to 50 of these interpretive centers across the country. But at this point, it's morally obligatory for me to explain what an interpretive center really is. See, some definitions will say that an interpretive center is synonymous with a welcome center. So, why change the name? The key word here is interpretive. Interpretive means to provide an interpretation. Duh. An interpretation conveys meaning based on facts, but that means that the interpretation is kind of subjective. Even informed opinions are still opinions. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Often interpretive centers provide commentary based on historical events. Even the word museum is being replaced with interpretive center. Why? Well, instead of you experiencing a historical exhibit that provides factual information, allowing you to determine its meaning, interpretive centers tell you the meaning behind the historical artifact or painting or whatever. Here's what good old Wiki has to say.
Unlike traditional museums, interpretation centers do not usually aim to collect, conserve, and study objects. They are specialized institutions for communicating the significance and meaning of heritage. They work to educate and raise awareness. Non-core jobs as conservation and research are services usually done by specialized external entities.
To work to educate and raise awareness of what? And external entities? really? I'm not demonizing interpretive centers, but I feel morally obligated to point this out as you travel to amazing places all over the U.S. When you're at an interpretive center, there's an agenda. I'm not saying it's good or bad, just know that there is one. History is not as binary as we want it to be. Interpreting history is always a little subjective, and that's why it's important to have a few interpretations so that we can make up our own minds. Now, the facts don't change, but our understanding and opinions of these facts do change. When it comes to national and state parks, you might believe and support their agenda, but it's healthy to know that they do have an agenda. Most of the time, the only noticeable agenda is that these interpretive centers are explaining why they're necessary and why we should all be thankful they exist. You know, marketing. And listen, I love state and national parks. After all, how many parks have we visited on this channel? But sometimes the information provided at interpretive centers is self-serving, political, misleading, and in the worst cases, they're historically inaccurate. This is rare, but it happens. Most of all, they're not objective about their own indiscretions. In fact, most of the time, they omit them altogether. For example, more than 500 families were removed from the mountains of Virginia to create Shenandoah National Park. Some historians argue that it was more like 1,000 families. And it's hard to determine how many families were removed from where we now call Smoky Mountain National Park because some of the numbers are hidden and overlapping with other projects in which eminent domain was enacted. Some people estimate that over the years, millions of people have been forced off their land to create national and state parks. These are facts, but our opinion as to whether or not it's been worth it is an interpretation. All I'm saying is that to be better informed, know all the facts and not just the ones that parks provide to provide their meaning. So just because you're having a wonderful time in the clean mountain air doesn't mean you have to believe everything you read. In fact, don't even take my word for it. Read. And don't just read junk online, read books. National and state parks are amazing, and we love them. But remember, these are government institutions, so pay attention to what your brain might be digesting. And this concludes my morally obligatory moment. Okay, I get it. All of that sounded sanctimonious, and it's way off brand for this channel. I've always boasted that our channel isn't political or serious, but I've been wondering how long I can continue to avoid certain subjects related to what Carolyn and I provide on this platform. So I'm asking you, see if you're still watching this video at this point, and by the way, thank you. There's a good chance that you're a faithful subscriber and watch a lot of our videos. So do you want us to make more videos about some of the more controversial aspects of our exploration? Or do you think we should keep it light? Now shoot straight with us. Let us know in the comments. Oh yeah, I have to say this again. Despite my criticism of the interpretive center concept, Roan Mountain State Park is our new favorite state park in Tennessee, and one of our top 5 state parks in the entire country. Again, it's all about the staff, cleanliness, and the effort Tennessee is putting into this park. It's really nice. So anyway, Roan Mountain is the high point of the Unaka Range, and it's home to a spectacular spruce forest. The trip up the mountain has a few amazing views, but not as many as it should. Tennessee Highway 143 is referred to as a scenic drive, but there hasn't been a great deal of effort making it scenic, and that includes the North Carolina side as well. Actually, the North Carolina side is even worse. So if you're all about the views, I think it would be more enjoyable when there are fewer leaves. There's not been a lot of effort put into the landscaping for overlooks. This is kind of typical for Tennessee. Tennessee isn't the best state in the world when it comes to scenic highways or making scenic areas user-friendly. Remember, I spent most of my life in the volunteer state, but if you're from Tennessee, do you agree that Tennessee doesn't spend a lot of money on parks or scenic highways? If not, light me up in the comments. Your opinion matters. But on 143, when you get a chance to catch a glimpse of this amazing view, it's fantastic. Roan Mountain is a 5-mile-long mountain range instead of a single mountain. It's called the Roan Massif. A massif is a compact group of mountains separated from a main group of mountains. So in some ways, Roan Mountain is its own micro-mountain range within the Unaka Mountains. That's if you're defining mountain ranges by topography instead of geology, and that's a discussion for another time. By the way, the word roan refers to a color, like chestnut brown or reddish brown, but no one really knows for sure why Roan Mountain is called Roan Mountain. It may have something to do with the red in the rhododendron, but no one really knows. When you begin ascending the mountain, you begin in Cherokee National Forest, which converges with Pisgah National Forest at the top, and I bet that's a paperwork nightmare. Now it's going to cost you $3 to enter the recreation area, and they don't accept cards, so make sure you have the cash. People were literally having to ask total strangers for $3 at the top, and thankfully on this occasion we had $3. You can access the Appalachian Trail in this area as well, and from what I understand, it's one of the most amazing areas of the entire AT. Like I mentioned earlier, the world's largest rhododendron garden is located here too. But Carolyn and I didn't plan to hike, and we still had a 6-hour drive back to Harrisonburg, Virginia after we left Roan Mountain. This was just a simple recon trip. And here's the thing. There isn't much of a view at the top unless you're planning to do a little bit of hiking. And for me, that's a real problem, and we need to talk about it. Cars and mosquitoes and bugs, and I'm doing this. Why? Because I love you. Okay, so I'm getting on my own nerves for all the criticism in this video, but there's a reason why. Like anything else, there was a catalyst. And the catalyst in this video that caused me to be so critical, I think, was me asking a local citizen on top of Roan Mountain, where were all the views? And I simply said, you know, you would think the National Forest would have some scenic views right here where you can drive to. If for no other reason, you would have a scenic view here on top of the mountain for those who are handicapped or something like that. And the lady popped back, that's not the National Forest job. Let me let you in on just a little secret here. You don't have to defend national parks and national forests. They have teams of people and pay millions and millions of dollars for people to do that for them. It is okay for citizens to criticize and offer suggestions to state parks, state forests, national parks, and national forests. It's healthy. It's good for our government. It's good to have a discussion about these things. It's not fake news. It is an opinion, and opinions are healthy. We never want it to be where our national parks and national forests don't have any type of public oversight or public involvement. This one young lady in the same conversation, she had an attitude with me, and I promise I wasn't trying to have attitude with anyone. I was just asking a question, where are the overlooks up here? And she was like, well, maybe you should volunteer for the National Forest. I'm like, I have volunteered for the National Forest. What are you talking about? I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. Suggestions and criticism helps make our parks better. It doesn't hurt our parks. It doesn't hurt our national forest. These things are healthy if they're done in the right form, and this is a good form for that. After all, this is an interpretive form. You can take it however you want to. And the reason why I have to criticize the fact that there aren't views that you can kind of drive to on Roan Mountain is because one of the questions we get a lot on our channel is this location handicap accessible? In other words, can you take a wheelchair there? Do you have to walk a long way to get there? And on Roan Mountain, unless I missed it, and if you've been there a lot, please let me know in the comments if I missed it, or let everybody else know, and that's fine. I don't care to be wrong. But it seemed like there wasn't a lot of handicap accessible views at all, even. Handicap parking, yes, but not handicap accessible views. You have to hike to the view. And that sounds great if you're all about hiking and if you're all about getting in shape and getting out and hands-on in nature. I talk about that on this channel all the time. I mean, some people have even asked, is our channel a hiking channel? And I'm like, no, but we do that much hiking on this channel that you could actually see our channel as a hiking channel. I love hiking. So in this situation, we were kind of experiencing what someone with a handicap might experience if they drove to Roan Mountain. There was nowhere really to pull over and see an amazing view. And that's after driving up Roan Mountain, and there weren't a lot of places to pull over and see an amazing view. Isn't that odd? And Carol and I travel all over the United States, particularly though in the Appalachian Mountains, and we just haven't experienced an amazing, beautiful, scenic location that was so limited on scenic vistas, beautiful overlooks, and things like that. It was just kind of weird. And I can't blame my home state, Tennessee, because on the North Carolina, it was very much the same way. 143, again, is listed as a scenic highway, and it could be, and I bet it really is in the fall and in the early winter and early spring when you don't have as much foliage. But as soon as summer comes, those views are restricted, and there doesn't seem to be any effort to create overlooks either. Maybe it's an environmental thing, but you would think that they would create more areas so that you can see these beautiful mountains. On the North Carolina side, it's extremely limited, at least the first 3 or 4 miles down the mountain. That's how far Carol and I went. We went about 3 or 4 miles down the North Carolina side, and we noticed the same thing. There weren't any areas to see these amazing views of this amazing mountain. Now, there were a few scenic views that perhaps now in the summertime you can't see them as well. But even then, you would think that they would be maintained. Roan Mountain is amazing. I mean, it's up there with Mount Mitchell, or at least it could be. All of that being said, it's still an amazing area. But we're going back when the rhododendrons are in full bloom, and that'll be next year, sometime around the end of May or the early part of June. And I hear it's amazing. breathtaking even. So we're really looking forward to that. The point I'm trying to make is that the National Forest and State Forest, all of these parks, they belong to us, and so it's okay for us to offer criticism. So calm down. You don't have to defend national parks and national forests. Easy. Breathe. Speaking of breathe, I have a great channel called Breathe that you can check out by clicking the tab above, and it's just scenes in nature. And I'm spending time today here in George Washington National Forest in Virginia. It's kind of mosquito infested, so I'm going to complain to the National Forest about all of the mosquitoes in here. I'm kidding, of course. Calm down, calm down. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. My name is Bill Marion, and this is A Nose for Life. Hey, check out one of these videos. If you like this one at all, you might like one of these videos even better. These mosquitoes are terrible. I'm swatting every 5 seconds, and I'm covered in insect repellent, and they're like singing nothing but the blood of Bill. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I'm a diabetic, and I hope I give every one of these mosquitoes that are biting me diabetes. I hope somehow you can transfer them to mosquitoes, and then they'll have a sugar.